in Syria's northwest, where people uprooted by war are crammed into camps. Medics fear the coronavirus would spread widely if it reaches the country, with its healthcare system in ruins. Doctors and aid workers say they have recorded no cases so far, but they warned that camps would not cope in the event of an outbreak, with hospitals already struggling to treat even basic illnesses after 9 years of war. Turkey confirmed its first case of the coronavirus, becoming the last major economy to report an outbreak after taking what the World Health Organization described as vigilant, cautious measures to delay the disease. The health minister confirmed that a Turkish man had been isolated after being diagnosed with the virus following high fever and a cough. Turkey's tourism sector, which accounts for about 13% of its economy, stepped up calls on the government for financial help to deal with the expected negative impact of the outbreak. Lebanon said it will halt all travel to and from Italy, South Korea, China and Iran to curb coronavirus, and gave nationals 4 days to return from other virus-hit countries before a more sweeping shutdown of flights would take effect. Prime Minister Hassan Diab told a news conference that Lebanon was stepping up measures to curb the outbreak after a second death was recorded on Wednesday, and the country's total confirmed cases reached 68, according to Lebanese media. The health ministry said 37% of the cases reported in Lebanon originated from 4 countries: Egypt, Iran, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. The World Health Organization Director General described the new coronavirus as a pandemic, adding that Italy and Iran were now in the front line of the disease and other countries would soon join them. He urged the global community to redouble efforts to contain the outbreak, saying aggressive measures could still play the big role to curb the pandemic. The WHO no longer has a category for declaring a pandemic, except for influenza. The World Health Organization said that it had documented more than 500 military attacks on medical facilities in Syria since it began counting them in 2016, with nearly as many deaths among staff and patients. About 2/3 of those struck were in Syria's northwest, where fighting has intensified in recent months as Damascus, backed by Russia, has sought to capture the last slice of the country beyond its control. A ceasefire between Russia and Turkey, which back opposing sides in the conflict, was agreed last week, and only minor violations have occurred. The United Nations has expressed concern over a power vacuum in South Sudan caused by the failure to form a transitional government, despite a recent agreement. In a statement earlier this week, head of the United Nations mission in South Sudan, David Shearer, called on the country's leaders to appoint governors for the states. The UN official said more than 8,000 people are currently living in makeshift shelters next to the UN base in Aibor. The Palestinian Health Ministry announced a Palestinian teenager was shot dead by Israeli forces during clashes in the occupied West Bank. Mohammed Hamayo died as a result of being shot in the face with live ammunition by the Israeli occupation during clashes in Nablus in the northern West Bank. The Israeli military said it was responding to a violent riot of some 500 Palestinians, many of whom hurled rocks at Israeli troops and set tires on fire. Turkey's President Tayyip Erdogan said he asked his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin to jointly manage oil fields in eastern Syria's Deir ez-Zor region in place of the Kurdish-led forces which control them now. Erdogan said Putin was evaluating the offer, which the Turkish president said he made during talks in Moscow last week, adding that he could make the same offer to US President Donald Trump. Russia accuses Washington of trying to separate eastern Syrian territories to create an illegal quasi-state there. King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center's project for clearing mines in Yemen, Masam, demined 2,963 mines during the first week of March 2020. The cleared mines include 310 anti-tank, 14 anti-personnel mines, 2,637 unexploded ordnance, and 2 explosive devices. Since the start of the project, 148,427 landmines planted by the Houthi militias in Yemen have been removed. Washington is discussing with its NATO allies what they can offer Turkey in terms of military assistance in Syria's Idlib. It's also discussing measures that may be taken if Russia and the Syrian regime break a ceasefire. James Jeffrey, the US envoy for Syria, who was speaking alongside the US ambassador to Turkey, David Satterfield, ruled out the use of ground troops should the ceasefire be broken and repeated that Ankara needed to clarify its stance on purchase of the Russian S-400 air defense system. The head of U.S. Central Command, U.S. Marine General Kenneth McKenzie, said that the United States was in the process of bringing air defense systems into Iraq to protect American troops. Earlier this year, the Pentagon said it was trying to secure permission from Iraq to take Patriot missile defenses into the country to better defend U.S. forces after Iran's January 8th missile attack. Bahrain's King Salman bin Isa Al Khalifa affirmed his country's solidarity with Egypt to ensure its legitimate Nile water rights, as Egypt and Ethiopia have been in a diplomatic conflict, especially recently over the filling and operation of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. This comes days after an Egyptian Foreign Ministry spokesperson expressed his disappointment over the Sudanese Foreign Ministry's statement that voiced reservations regarding a draft resolution issued by the Arab Council for Foreign Ministers on the dam. In a meeting with Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry in the Kingdom of Bahrain, King Hamad said he considers Egypt's national security a main pillar of Arab security. The Arab League General Secretariat has stressed the importance of the role of the media in promoting relations between Arab and African peoples and increasing social awareness on different challenges facing development in Africa. Addressing the 7th International Media Forum for African Media Men, the director of the AL Media Department pressed for the need to activate the media role to allow members of societies to reach understandings and wholly skills the media to prepare generations able to deal with all communication channels. A state of emergency begins as Egyptians brace for a thunderstorm and heavy rains Thursday through Saturday. The Minister of Housing, Utilities and Urban Communities said in press conference that demand of the drinking water will be reduced in some areas and may be cut off if necessary with prior notice as a precaution. The rain is expected to be extremely heavy on the north coast and the Nile Delta, which is Egypt's lowest region. Floods are awaited on Sinai, the Gulf of Suez and the Red Sea. The weather will also be accompanied with sandy winds, thunder and low temperatures. Saudi Aramco, the world's largest oil company, said that it plans to raise its crude production capacity by 1 million barrels per day to 13 million barrels per day. Saudi Aramco announces that it received a directive from the Ministry of Energy to increase its maximum sustainable capacity from 12 million to 13 million barrels per day. Taking a cue from the Saudi action, the United Arab Emirates National Oil Company said it was ready to boost its oil supplies by around 1 million barrels per day amid a price war.